What's up everyone, Sean Count Blaggerth here today with an album review, this time of the 2014 Prowling Death Records release with Century Media of Melana Chasmata by Triptykon. Guys, many of you know Triptykon is my favorite band, and as many of you know, Tom G. Warrior, also known as Thomas Gabriel Fisher, is my all-time favorite musician. He has crafted some of my favorite albums, everything from the early days of Hellhammer with the demos of The Triumph of Death, Satanic Rites, and of course the Apocalyptic Raids EP. Then there was the Celtic Frost era with such amazing releases such as Morbid Tales, Emperor's Return, to Megatheria, and Into the Pandemonium, and of course my all-time favorite album, Monotheist. So many of you guys know as well, Et Postera Daimones is another fantastic album that is definitely in my top 5, probably at least 10 favorite albums of all time. It took pretty much everything that I loved about Monotheist and made it a continuation of it, and for me that's a fantastic thing. So to say that expectations for this album were high coming into it is quite the understatement. Earlier in the year they put out the Breathing single, which I'm holding right here, the 7-inch vinyl that contains the 2 tracks, Breathing and Bullskin House. I got the red vinyl version. Those 2 tracks I felt like were great representations of what Tom can do. Breathing, of course, being the example of the more fast-paced and aggressive music that Tom crafts, but also Bullskin House showing the more atmospheric side of things and the more beautiful and somber side of things. And I felt like they did a fantastic job with those 2 tracks, so that really made my expectations even higher for this album. Now, let's begin with this. To try to label this with one genre tag is really selling it short. It's something that you can't do. It's an album that simply must be heard to truly understand it. I can't tell you what it sounds like by just using genre tags, because if I did, I would sound like an idiot, because a lot of them are conflicting with styles such as doom, thrash, a little bit of death and black thrown in there, gothic, ambient. A lot of these styles, they kind of seem to clash with each other, but when you hear it, the way it was put together, it makes sense. This album starts off with something that's a little bit different when you compare it to Et Postera Daimones, which was a much more crushing, more riff-based album. And while Tree of Suffocating Souls is definitely a riff-based track, it has a lot more going for it, and there's an influence that a lot of people seem to be understating when they talk about this, and that is the hardcore influence. And I'm not saying hardcore as in this modern BS that's out there. I'm referring to one of Tom's earliest influences, which was Discharge. There's a couple points on Tree of Suffocating Souls that really remind me of Discharge and the old days of Hellhammer, back when they had that fire in them, back when they were just full of just hell and just were so passionate about what they did, which was the beautiful thing about Hellhammer. And you could see that spark is still with Tom to this day and every member of this band. And I'm not going to try to understate anybody in this band and their part in it, because that would be just selling them short. Tree of Suffocating Souls is much more of a straightforward track, but it brings forth a lot of the elements that you're going to find within this, be it very catchy headbangable riffs to just crushing atmospheric moments and just some very uplifting parts, and that really shows what this album's going to bring to you. You have these tracks such as Tree of Suffocating Souls, and one of the most ferocious songs he's written in years, Breathing, that kind of showcase his old style, where it's kind of a compilation of everything that he has done musically thrown into one. And then you get other tracks such as Altar of Deceit and Black Snow and In the Sleep of Death, where you'll hear these tracks that have much more of an influence based and rooted out of the doom side of things that was present on Epostera Daimones. It's something that is very good to hear that he's still using the extremely crushing riffs that were on that debut album. But instead of just focusing everything that he has and everything that they have onto these overbearing, earth-shattering riffs, they're used sparingly, but they're used throughout the album, and that's a great thing to see, because then you have these other tracks, such as Boleskine House, Aurora, and Demon Pact, that really bring forth this dark, atmospheric, sort of demented and haunting atmosphere. One of my favorite things about this album, and especially the song Waiting, is the usage of female vocals and atmospheric elements such as keyboards and electronics and a lot of guitar layering. It's something that works to their advantage. There's nothing about the atmosphere of this album that is not genuine. There's nothing about it that is forced, and that's something I like. Waiting in Boleskine House featured these absolutely haunting female vocals performed by, I don't want to mispronounce her last name, so I'm not going to say it, but her first name is Simone. She is absolutely amazing. What she adds to the track, like Boleskine House, is this really dark, haunting element that kind of amplifies and really extends the atmosphere of the song from being something that's already dark and brooding to something that is completely and utterly haunting and will really leave you in chills. It is very creepy, but it's beautiful and calming, and that's what I liked about the last album with the some of the tracks that were on there, such as My Pain and Myoptic Empire, with the female vocals that were utilized on that. They really helped build this really sort of calming yet dark atmosphere, and they're utilized well once again. The best way to really describe the atmosphere of this record is the darkness of Monotheist kind of brought back to the album instead of the anger of the last album. And that's something that I really like, because one of the biggest parts that I absolutely love and worship about Monotheist is the absolutely dark and sinister atmosphere. And the track on this album that really showcases this demented atmosphere is the song Demon Pact. This is a track that almost scared the piss out of me the first time I heard it. It is a track that really showcases the darkness that lies within this band. This really showcases that you don't have to utilize cliche techniques such as these overbearing, super high-pitched screams to create a blackened atmosphere. You don't have to really use drone and keyboards as a crutch. What this showcases is just very simple techniques being done, and how simple techniques can really bring forth a lot to a song. And this song is a plain and simple case of less is more. There's some awesome effects being used on the drums and the bass throughout this album, and especially on Demon Pact. Soon as when that part kicks in, you're left with a feeling of there's something big is about to happen. And then when it kicks in, it hits you like a mule. It kicks you so hard, and it just really brings that evil atmosphere that's combined with that shrill, high-pitched guitar that's just very faintly in the background, combined with all that just to create this absolutely terrifying, demented sound. This song was everything I hoped it would be and more, and this song really shows what a lot of this album is all about. The album seems to have more of a pace of showcasing what the band can do and showcasing the different range of emotions that a human being can go through, from these absolutely sad, depressing moments like on such tracks such as Aurora, that song is very depressing. And then you get the absolute anger of tracks such as Breathing and Tree of Suffocating Souls. It's a beautiful thing to hear. There's a lot of pain in the lyrics. There's a lot of pain in the vocals. And that's something that I really enjoy about this album, is how absolutely pained a lot of it is. And I don't mean pained as in it's a pain to listen to. I mean it's genuine human emotion that's coming forth in all of these tracks, be it lyrically, vocally, or musically. And speaking of the vocals, this is something that I absolutely love about Triptykon, is the absolute variety in the vocals. They're so multi-dimensional. Tom has his standard sort of yelling growl that a lot of people call, but I really wouldn't say it's a growl. It's kind of a raspy yell that sounds like a absolute... he sounds like a tyrant ruling over a bunch of slaves, and that's the best way I can describe it. It's a vocal style, excuse me, that is very unique. You know it's him as soon as you hear it, and that is something that I really enjoy about his vocal performance. So you have the typical Tom G. Warrior yell, sort of growl thing, and then you have his, of course, trademark ugh, which he wastes no time on getting to on Tree of Suffocating Souls. Within 30 seconds it kicks in, and that's awesome. But then you have his spoken word and his somber singing, which is amazing. It really adds to that sort of that really demented atmosphere, the really somber atmosphere, especially in the track Aurora. His singing is spot on for what the lyrics are, with a spirit wasting away. It's amazing. Then you have something that a lot of people seem to believe is Tom, but it's not. Guitarist Victor Santera, also known as V. Santera, I believe is how you say his name. He provides these absolutely fantastic black metal style screams and rasps over a lot of the parts, especially on tracks such as Bullskin House with "This is the ground" sort of things. And I really like that because it builds a lot of tension and it adds a lot of atmosphere. And it's a great thing to hear the balance between Tom's regular vocals and these screams to kind of create much more of a depth within this album. Another thing that I really got to state is the production and the mastering on this is absolutely spot on. This captures pretty much the true essence of what Triptykon is to me, which is a soul-crushing and just absolutely soul-shattering experience. It's something that really aids the album, where you have a lot of these very cool effects that are thrown in, like on tracks such as Demon Pact, with the bass and the kick drum, that really adds a lot to what's happening. But at the same time, you also have this super clean, crystal clear production that allows the bass to cut through with its super thick and nasty sounding bass tone. And then you have Tom's absolutely crushing guitar parts that really cut through and you can hear every note. Be it the feedback, it sounds good. The solos sound good. Even the drums have this absolute depth to them that you will not find anywhere else. And that's something that I love, is to hear drums that sound this big. The album flows perfectly. There is not a single thing I can say that is bad about this, and I am not simply saying this as a fan of Triptykon or as a fanboy, so to speak, of Tom G. Warrior. I am saying this as someone that genuinely loves the music that I'm hearing. This is everything I hoped it would be and more. It took the parts of Eparstera Daimonis that I loved and amplified it. It took the atmosphere that I absolutely worship from Monotheist and amplified it and made it even darker and more brooding. This is an album that I can't say is for everyone, but if you are into extreme and original music, then this is definitely for you. If you're a fan of Triptykon and Celtic Frost already, you know the drill. You will love this. Please purchase this and support it. I have pre-ordered it. Sadly, since I live in the US, it will not be here until sometime next month, I believe. I pre-ordered the CD box set and the double green LP, and I do plan on buying the triple vinyl box set along with the standard edition CD. For a score, guys, I'm giving this a 10 out of 10. This is a perfect album, and it's something that needs to be heard by everyone, and it needs to be heard in multiple listens. I've probably listened to this close to 50 times already. If you guys have heard it, what do you think? Do you love it? Do you hate it? What's the deal? Let me know down in the comments below. And that's it, guys. Thank you guys for watching. Thank you for subscribing. And as always, keep it metal.